Cleveland Browns, New York Jets, Thursday night football with the Browns looking to punch their playoff ticket. Your Week 17 Locked On Browns pregame show starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB, and the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, and I appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. If you are not part of the everyday crowd by now, well, you better make a new plan, stand, and subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And of course, the show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Speaking of PrizePicks, we'll get this out of the way before we get to all the goodies. Week 17 pregame show. Put together a lineup, PrizePicks lineup, 5 players. You guys know the drill. 2 to 6 players. Pick more than or less than, and you got a chance to cash in. Joe Flacco with a line tonight of 233.5 yards. Yes, always the hook, kids, with PrizePicks, of course, and in betting, any betting, of course. Last week, Joe made me look bad. This week, we're going to take the over. Joe Flacco, 233.5. Take the over on Joe Flacco hitting that number tonight. Amari Cooper, we're going to put an asterisk next to this one. Amari Cooper, as we all know, is dealing with a little bit of a heel injury. We'll have to figure out, probably somewhere around 6:30 tonight, whether or not Amari is going to be a go. A line set of 57.5 yards for Amari Cooper. If Amari Cooper plays, Amari Cooper is going to hit that 57.5. Take the over on Amari Cooper. Elijah Moore, revenge game, 24.5 yards. Elijah Moore is going to look to show the Jets the mistake they made by not finding a bigger role for him in his 2 years with the New York Jets. We will take the over on Elijah Moore, 24.5, and still looking for that first Cleveland Browns touchdown. David Njoku, the number is set at 50.5 yards. We will take the over on the Chief as well. The more the Browns show teams that they can get vertical down the field, the easier it is for David Njoku to get his eat on. Jerome Ford, we're not going to touch any rushing numbers with the Cleveland Browns. I'm just not even going to touch them, which means the Browns probably will run the ball tonight. Jerome Ford, 13.5 yards receiving. We know what Jerome can do as a receiver. I will take that on the over as well. So Joe Flacco over, Coop over, Moore over, Njoku over, and Jerome Ford the over. Thursday night football for the Browns, obviously going into this game, starting to get healthy. We have the possibility that Juan Thornhill could be back tonight. Still waiting to see, later in the day whether or not Amari Cooper will be able to go for the Browns today. Obviously, Coop has been huge. He has been crucial. He has been vital to the Browns down the stretch here, and the relationship that Joe Flacco have been having is just absolutely blown up here over the last couple of weeks to the tune of 265 yards last week against the Houston Texans. So certainly want to keep your eye on there. As we know, the Browns will be using Riley Patterson as their kicker tonight, as most likely Dustin Hopkins' regular season is over. We don't know the severity of the hamstring injury, and it's a shame because even if D-Hop was able to finish the game in Houston, he would have broken the Cleveland Browns all-time points record. Sad. It's a shame. Obviously, Hop has had a fantastic season for the Browns here. Hopefully that leg will be right by the time the playoffs come around. Browns also could be debuting a new punter this evening. Matty Hawk has kicked previously for Bubba Ventrone. He is more of a placement type of punter. He does not have the ability to flip the field that we are used to with Baraquez. And also you're going to have a new holder for a new kicker. So certainly special teams for the Browns tonight are going to be crucial. They're going to be vital and will be an integral part to be the ultimate deciding factor in this Thursday night matchup with the New York Jets. Jets don't come in unscathed. Jets have certainly had injuries this year as well. Nothing truly vital to this point. We know there will be no Aaron Rodgers. We know there will be no Zach Wilson. Second-year tight end Jeremy Ruckert, former Ohio State Buckeye, will not be a part of this affair as well. Trevor Siemian will be behind center for the New York Jets tonight. Now, the Browns to this point have gone 7-1 at home this year. They have played outstanding ball, yeah, obviously on the lake. So this is going to be crucial here. You want to close this out strong. Browns get this 11th win tonight. It puts them in a real possibility where week 18 against Cincinnati Bengals would be absolutely meaningless if the rest of the things play out this week and the Browns would like them to play out. For the Browns, that'd be vital. As we know, there's a lot of guys, that are gutting it out right now. But for this game to be on Thursday night and then these guys to hopefully be able to sit for 10 days, and that's just to the Bengal game, and then start to amp it up a little bit after, the Bengal game. So these guys can almost go more than 2 weeks without having to participate in a football game if the Browns can handle their business tonight. That would be a huge coup for this Cleveland Browns team. It has been a magnificent season up until this point. When, you talk about an NFL season, you basically say every week, every game is a chapter. That has never been more true than to this Browns 2023 season. Week in, week out, we don't know who the quarterback is. We don't know who's playing where on the offensive side, on the defensive side. We were a team that had 3 prominent safeties that started the season for the Cleveland Browns. Last couple of weeks, it has been undrafted free agent Rodney Hickman. It has been second-year undrafted free agent Anthony Bell. It has been veteran free agent safety Deron Harmon, who was brought in here as some of these bodies started to go down. He had his first interception as a Cleveland Brown last week. So the fact that this story has gone on like it has, and, whether it was Deshaun Watson to PJ Walker to DTR to Deshaun Watson to DTR to Joe Flacco, I think I got that right. But just the way this has worked, and, there is just not enough superlatives you can give to head coach Kevin Stefanski and his staff. Of course, offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt, certainly defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. These guys coming out to the practice field, on Wednesday, basically looking around saying, all right, this is who I have today. All right. And then let's get to Thursday. All right. Who do we have? Then getting to Friday and starting to get the final word on who you are going to have at your disposal and who you are not going to have at your disposal. And then somehow, some way, this team finding a way, most likely usually 48 hours on Sundays, to go out there to give everything they have to execute to excellence, whether it's on the offensive side, the defensive side. This team has truly been special this year. And to be able to get a chance to, put that X next to their name in the standings, meaning that they have clinched a playoff berth here for the 2023 season in front of that crowd in Cleveland that has backed this team so hard and so well this year. 7-1 in Cleveland Browns Stadium, whiting it out tonight as the Browns are going to go with the all whites for this big Thursday night affair, trying to clinch this in front of everybody. The party before the game will be wild. I do believe we all kind of understand who's going to be smashing that guitar tonight. The Batman signal basically lit, so to speak, as it looks like. I'm not going to say it, but we all know what it looks like. So get to your seats early. Get to the tailgate early, have yourselves a great time, and go root on these Cleveland Browns, as this could be an historical night in the Cleveland Browns franchise. And again, homage, thank you, Denzel Ward, homage, all the best of luck with this endeavor. People need medical help. Let's make sure people get the medical help that they can get. We're going to keep it moving here. You're the latest Locked On Browns, your host, Jeff Lloyd, and don't you dare go away. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on a 2 to 6 player stat projection, and you can watch the winnings roll in. Do you want to play alongside some of PrizePicks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each week. PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in place even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second half, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. I have already given you your Cleveland Browns PrizePicks lineup for the week. Flacco, Coop, Moore, and Njoku Ford. Take the over on everybody. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Continuing on here, your Week 17 pregame Locked On Browns, Cleveland Browns, New York Jets, Thursday Night Football. Nothing in the world goes faster than the NFL season. We are already to Week 17 as the Browns and Jets will kick it off on Prime in front of a national television audience. We talk about the Cleveland Browns offense here and how successful this team has been over the last few weeks when the switch was made as Joe Flacco, as everybody knows, on the couch well into November. Cleveland Browns just tried to patchwork the quarterback position as much as they could, getting a finality that unfortunately Deshaun Watson's season was over. DTR looked good in the Denver game. He suffered an injury. Then you go the following week and you have the veteran. Obviously, if Joe Flacco was brought in, there was a point to it. And eventually Joe Flacco was going to get his opportunity. Joe Flacco is currently 3-1 as the Cleveland Browns starter. First game looked good, but did lose to the Los Angeles Rams. A late interception was key in that game. Comes back, shows up well against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Comes back after that, big late game push to beat the Chicago Bears. And then you go down last week to the Houston Texans and you set the tone from the first offensive play of the game. Play action, 53 yards, Amari Cooper, and the route was essentially on from there. Joe, you've seen how much being able to get the vertical game going. And now teams, look, this Kevin Stefanski team, now this is almost 4 full years. Kevin Stefanski's been the head coach of this team. And the Browns, unfortunately, for most of the time during that Kevin Stefanski regime, have been playing in a box. And they just have not had that ability to create the chunk passing plays that you see so often here in the NFL this year. Well, that has changed tremendously with Joe Flacco behind center. Obviously, 6'6" quarterback, 240 pounds. First thing you think, even looking at Joe, is obviously this guy can throw the ball a country mile. And he's been able to do that with a high success rate to this point. You've gotten players involved like Marquise Goodwin. Certainly, Amari Cooper is taking off. All of this vertical action has made things so much easier. There is so much more room underneath for David Njoku to navigate and do his business, and he has been excellent at to this point. David Bell, obviously a key factor in the Jacksonville game, a 41-yard touchdown. Cedric Tillman, finding a way, running the short routes over the middle, holding onto the ball tight, running physical. You get these types of things when you have a 6'3", 220-pound receiver. Cedric Tillman brings a little something different to the room as opposed to the rest of the guys. So you've been able to see all these guys kind of find their niche. Tonight, it's going to be a little bit different here. Look, this Jets defense would get a lot more credit than they do if the Jets were a winning or a successful team this year. When one part is not working and the record is not good, people's not looking at the, basically breaking a team down into parts. This Jets defensive line is fantastic. Jermaine Johnson, of course. Huff is a fantastic pass rusher. Of course, you have, Quinnen Williams. You have Solomon Thomas. Jets have a really, really strong defensive line. And, it's been a really, really telling point and a strong point to what this team has been able to do. Jonathan Franklin Myers, another good player, good pass rusher. Now, we know the struggles between Jerron Christian and obviously between James Hubbard. And, look, these guys are doing the best they can. And you can't always expect them to perform like starters. They're the fourth and fifth offensive tackle on this Cleveland Browns team. They're there for a reason. If these guys were capable to play like starters, they would be starters, if not in Cleveland, somewhere else. So this is, you're asking everything you can of these guys, and these guys are doing that. They really are. I mean, they are exceeding expectations, in my opinion. Hubbard, we know it's either all or nothing. James Hubbard either erases a player on run assignment, or sometimes, athleticism beats him. Jerron Christian's been a better pass blocker than he's been a run blocker. Certainly allowed a lot of time for things to develop and for Joe Flacco to make these throws down the field that we're starting to fall in love with. Number 15, very, very weird, right? Still weird to see that this former great Raven quarterback is now leading the Cleveland Browns here in a crucial part of an amazing season thus far for the Cleveland Browns. But ain't none of us complaining, and we're going to love every minute of it. The New York Jets secondary, Sauce, Reed, Jordan Whitehead, these guys are all really good players. They're nickel, Michael Carter, special player in his own right. This is a cornerback group that can actually rival what the Cleveland Browns can put out there. There's not a lot of weeks where teams put out a cornerback group that rival what the New York Jets do, but the Jets can do this. So you've got to find a way. And if Amari can go, you figure Amari Cooper, Sauce Gardner, this is going to be a pretty big matchup most of the day. If that's the case, then even if Coop's dinged up, but if Coop's out there, maybe Coop becomes more decoy. You're trying to take Sauce Gardner out of it. You got to think Elijah Moore is definitely coming into this game with a chip on his shoulder. He wants to show that coaching staff on the other side of the ball just how wrong that they did him in his time there. And look, Elijah Moore is open a lot on NFL football fields. It was certainly that case with the Jets, and it was certainly that way thus far with the Cleveland Browns. It just seems that the ball does not find his way to him. If Coop is limited, or if Coop is even out, Elijah Moore could be out there looking for blood against the Cleveland Browns, against the New York Jets today. Elijah Moore should be somebody to watch here today. David Njoku, and look, Jordan Whitehead's a good safety. He really is. But when we talk often about the Chief, what do we say? Linebackers can't run with him. Defensive backs are too small to cover him. Jordan Whitehead, as solid as a football player as he is, one of the issues with Jordan Whitehead is he is undersized. So David Njoku becomes a very, very difficult matchup for a player like Jordan Whitehead. Certainly something to watch for here. You know, Marquise Goodwin, questionable for this game, and you'd love to have him, obviously. Even the bits and spurts that he plays, you know, that 4.3 speed is terrifying. And, you know, with the ability to, with the want to go vertical, Goodwin becomes a player here and that. But again, it just opens everything else up. It can open up the screen game. It can open up the backs out, forward, Hunt. Maybe Pierre Strong gets his number called here tonight on a short week. You know, you want to look for players that might be close to fresh here. Obviously, we're talking about week 17, so not necessarily anybody is fresh at this point. But if you want to talk about the Cleveland Browns and who's maybe got the freshest legs in that running back room, you have to figure, without question, it would be, of course, Pierre Strong, and we know he's got the long speed. Not so great with the contact, but Pierre Strong could be a deciding factor in this game here tonight. Browns just need to do what they do. And look, it's obviously gotten to the point here where the running game is an afterthought. And again, very, very weird thing. If you have been around the Kevin Stefanski regime here with the Cleveland Browns, this regime has been successful on the offensive side of the ball because they run the ball well. Last few weeks, there's been no sign of that. No sign whatsoever. And, you know, in a game like this, you know, you would like weather is not going to be a factor. When we kick off, should be in maybe low to mid 40s. The game is going to stay in the 40s the entire time. Certainly a very, very reasonable weather night for a night game in Cleveland in late December. So that is one advantage. Obviously, the Browns certainly advantage to the Jets, although both teams certainly deal with the elements. But getting a break here tonight with 40-degree temperatures in Cincinnati should make the life a little bit easier for the new Browns kicker. Should hopefully make things a little easier for the new Browns punter, but try to find some way to maybe get the run game involved here. And the Browns have done a good job of just saying, hey, if it ain't working, why are we wasting our time with it? But, you know, the more dropbacks Joe Flacco takes, the more opportunity for the Browns pass rush. I mean, the Jets pass rush to get involved, and, you know, more opportunity, obviously, for turnovers, etc. So if the Browns can show any semblance of a running game here tonight, that would be huge, whether it's Jerome Ford, whether it's Kareem Hunt, whether it's Pierre Strong. If the Browns can find just a little bit of balance here, it might be able to keep those Jets pass rushers at bay and allow the Browns the best opportunity to control the clock, control the field position, and ultimately control the game. We're going to switch it up. We're going to talk a little bit about the defense here. We'll give you a score prediction. Jeff Lloyd, your Week 17 pregame Locked On Browns, Jets, Browns, Thursday Night Football. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible to interview. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. They have a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. So the thing is, small businesses have to hit on their hires. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, it's quick, and it's easy. They even just launched a feature that helps you write your job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Closing out here, Week 17 pregame Thursday night football. New York Jets travel to Cleveland to face the 10-5 Cleveland Browns, the 7-1 at home Cleveland Browns regular season finale at Cleveland Browns Stadium. All the marbles on the line as the Cleveland Browns again try to put that X next to their name and solidify their playoff push for 2023. Biggest mismatch for the Browns on defense here. Now, we talk about the Browns offensive line and their struggles. There has not been an offensive line that's probably struggled more in the NFL this season than the New York Jets. It's a revolving door at left tackle, right tackle. The Jets have just had a massive amount of injuries, underperforming players, guys who came back late in the season. None of this is working right now for the New York Jets on the offensive side of the ball, whereas we all know the Cleveland Browns defensive line, even if there was a slow period, maybe the Broncos game, the Rams game, this team has really, really amped it up here over the last few weeks, obviously against the Jaguars, the Bears, and certainly the Houston Texans. A player like Zadarius Smith had 3 sacks in his last three games. Alex Wright, 2 straight games with a sack. Myles Garrett, 26 pressures in his last 3 games. No sacks to show for it. But Myles Garrett, currently the betting favorite for Defensive Player of the Year, has been a beast. And now that Myles has the players around him and the talent around him, this is really starting to show. So Alex and obviously Zadarius Smith, Ogbo Ankorankwo will be out. Hopefully that leads to maybe Ogbo being out for the Cincinnati Bengal game, and then the Browns can just find a way to use him in the playoffs if they get there, for whatever they feel Ogbo can handle. But this defensive line is really, really playing well. Dalvin Tomlinson has been a player who's really stepped up his game over the last couple of weeks with the amount of injuries that the Browns have been facing. This is what you paid the big fella for, and you were certainly seeing the dividends from the player. Anthony Walker is out, which means the task of handling Breece Hall will fall to Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and will fall to Sione Takitaki. JOK has been fantastic this year. There's not enough superlatives that you can put on Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah this year. I believe it's 21 tackles for 0 yards or negative yardage to this point, by far leading the linebacker position in the NFL. Sione Takitaki, with each week, he seems to get a little bit more confidence in that rehabbed ACL knee injury, and he's just starting to show some bursts, showing some sideline to sideline speed. Sione is in the zone right now, and Sione and JOK have been a great duo, as difficult as it is not to have a leader out there, a knowledgeable leader, a vocal leader like Anthony Walker. Sione Takitaki knows the game and knows it well. And Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is starting to show that all that talent, now paired with a defense coordinator like Jim Schwartz, and all that knowledge that's starting to come to JOK, and he's seeing it before it develops. It's just really, really become a really, really nice front seven for the Cleveland Browns. And these guys are just absolutely dominating games, which leads to obviously the Browns secondary. Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, and of course Martin Emerson. You've got, Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's second career game was against the Cleveland Browns in 2022. We all know what Garrett did that day. We'd like to see the former Buckeye kind of shut out of this one here today. So that is the focal point. And look, the matchups, whether it's Denzel, whether it's Martin, who can push on him and beat on him a little bit, or if they try to push Garrett into the slot, and Greg Newsome is in his zone right now. He is playing so well. And for Greg Newsome, it's been inside and out. Wherever his number's been called, Greg Newsome, it's just put together a really, really strong year here. And you think that's going to continue for this Browns team tonight as they face this New York Jets team. Trevor Siemian, look, it's really, really hard to get things going when you're getting rushed at the percentage and the rate that New York Jets quarterbacks are, which makes Breece Hall out of the backfield devastating. And the thing with Breece Hall is he runs a 4.3, but he's like a long strider. So you see him and you don't even realize how much yardage he is picking up as quickly as he is. And then he's got that extra gear, basically when he sees, all day daylight, and away he goes. He is the absolute focal point for the Cleveland Browns today. Whether it's the defensive line, you got to be cognizant of screens. Whether it's the linebackers, you got to be cognizant, of course, of, back outs, Breece going to the flat, Texas route up through the middle of the linebacker zone, and these safeties. We'll see if it's Juan Thornhill tonight back in rotation, but of course, Ronnie Hickman, of course, DeAnthony Bell, of course, Deron Harmon. Breece Hall is a tough guy to get to the ground, and you absolutely have to make sure you can, because nobody, there's not many like Breece Hall who have the ability to take something that could be maybe 2-3 yards, turned it into 30, turned it into 60 to hurry. That is the type of running back Breece Hall is. That's the type of capabilities that Breece Hall has. Prediction for tonight, I don't see how this doesn't keep going for the Cleveland Browns. The momentum they have, obviously they have all the advantages in the world. Even though it's a short week, this game is being played in Cleveland. It's going to be whited out in the crowd. This place is going to be loud. It's going to be raucous. And this Cleveland Browns crowd wants to basically party, knowing that this team took home and punched their playoff ticket. I like the Cleveland Browns tonight. I'm going to go with a score of about 22-13. Cleveland Browns should be victorious and should be waving their playoff flag as they enter the 2023 playoff race. I am Jeff Lloyd. I appreciate every single one of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. And if you were not part of the Locked On Browns everyday crowd by now, well, get on the bus, Gus, and subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. Just a little bit of moment of reflection this time of year. Deeply from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate all of you who are here with me every day. This is a job, but I absolutely love every second of it. And being here with you guys, getting to go back and forth and give all my takes and then have you guys feed me back on X or wherever. It's an absolute pleasure. Thursday night football, New York Jets come to Cleveland. Cleveland Browns, Jets, TNF on Prime. Browns looking to punch that playoff ticket. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.